Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Asad Pasha and welcome to the first video of First at Last. Today we will be discussing which subjects you should choose as an O levels or IGCSE student. I was a sportsman and I chose 9 subjects because it suited me. And overall, I've heard that many of you have problems choosing your subjects, and you have also problems on how many subjects you should choose and which subjects are more difficult, which are more easy. Should you go towards humanities or sciences? I'll try my best to answer all these questions in this video, and we'll also give our own opinions on which subjects you should choose or which subjects suit you. So I would start with introductions. Can you please introduce yourself, boys?
Assalamu alaikum everyone, I'm Bilal Hamid, and as Pasha said earlier, we are going to be talking about subject selection and everything related to it. That includes dropping certain subjects if you find them difficult.
Assalamu alaikum everybody, my name is Muhammad Hadi Saif. In my O levels, I gave 13 subjects, which is a bit of a nerd thing to do, but that's why I'm here today to talk about why I gave those subjects and the implications they have on my college admission. So that is what we'll be focusing on today, on how your subjects impact your future aspirations and what you want to do, especially in college, and how you will take that path across high school. So I'll move on to Pasha, who will move on to subject selections on how we approach certain subjects, the categories of subjects, and the groups of subjects. For example, sciences, humanities, and subdivisions onto these subjects.
I think first of all, we should address the question on how many subjects should you choose? Should you go for 8 subjects, 9 subjects, or you should go extensively, like Hadi said, 13, 15, or even beyond that? I've even heard of students going to 40 subjects, but I think that is a bit extreme. But it all depends on how you can manage, because you only have 3 years. And I would say that in those 3 years, I was mainly focused on sports, and that is why I took 9 subjects. If going more than 11 or 12 subjects is a bit extensive, but Hadi Saif has done it, and Alhamdulillah, he's gotten excellent grades. So I would like him to tell you how many subjects you should choose. And if you're choosing 13 or 14 subjects, what should you do? How should you plan your schedule? What should you change in your life? Should you end social media? Should you end YouTube and these things? Or should you end sports? Let's talk about this, Hadi, please.
So honestly speaking, this was the question I had when I was starting M2, and nobody really gave me a straight answer, because people they have the stigma around O levels, especially when it comes to this. And when you're starting out, you ask as many people you want, and it's very hard to find a sweet spot. So I think the sweet spot for O level subjects, especially I'm talking about higher tier Ivy, so Princeton, Harvard, MIT, Yale, Stanford. I think the sweet spot would be either 10 or 11 would be a sweet spot if you're aiming for these colleges, because of the competition that is growing today. In our batch, I think there are 2 people who've given 12 or 13. And I think in the batches that will follow, especially batches that are younger than us, I think the competition that is increasing day by day, you would have to give 11 or 12 just to differentiate yourself from the people around you. So let's move on to how I prepared for these subjects and how I coped with them. So coped isn't a word that I'd use, because it was a very rough couple of years when it comes to whatever subjects. And I think the main thing is to plan ahead, which is something that people don't talk about. O level isn't about how smart you are or how much you are willing to stay up and put in all-nighters. As much as I've done that, it does not make a difference. Pasha has been with me all throughout the way, and it does not make a difference. Plan ahead how many subjects you want to give. Don't waver from that path after every 2 months. Agar aapne 9 dene, so aap 9 dein, and stick to having 9 stars. That's perfectly fine. But if you have to take that path of 12, 13, 14, don't go beyond 13. Don't put your life on hold for 13 subjects, because remember, your college life isn't just about your O-level grades. So it is about having a balanced approach at life. Sports also chalti rehti hai. It's about your co-curriculars. It's about life in general. Now I'll also hear from Bilal, who was doing 9 and also was doing ad maths, and he was very focused on that. Plus, he got a distinction in Islamiyat. So let's hear from the kid himself.
तो सबसे पहले जो बात है ना सब्जेक्ट्स की, 9 होते हैं, 10 होते हैं, 11, 12, 13, यहाँ तक हमने बात की है ना. तो अगर आपने सेफ रहना है ना, आप सारी फील्ड्स अपने लिए ओपन रखनी है, ए लेवल्स में भी स्पेशली, तो फिर आई सपोज ज़्यादा सब्जेक्ट्स के लिए तो फ़ायदा होता है. लेकिन अगर आपको पहले से ही पता है आपने क्या करना है, मतलब यू आर लाइक हेल बेंड के भाई मैंने करना ही है जो मर्जी हो जाए, मतलब फॉर इंस्टेंस मेडिकल की जहाँ तक बात है, मैंने शुरू से सोचा था कि मैंने मेडिकल करना है, तो उसके लिए फिर ये कि आप साइंसेस रख लो। फिर मैंने रख लिया, मतलब उसका कोई इम्प्लीकेशन नहीं है मेडिकल में, लेकिन एक ये था कि एक्स्ट्रा सब्जेक्ट हमारे स्कूल में रखना, मतलब 9 सब्जेक्ट्स रखने थे हमारे स्कूल में, तो मतलब 8 भी रख सकते थे, लेकिन मैंने कहा कि 9 रखने तो फ़ायदा होगा उसका। तो फिर एड मैथ्स एक ऐसा सब्जेक्ट था जो मुझे था कि थोड़ा मतलब चैलेंजिंग है, तो एक तो चैलेंज मुझे मिलेगा जो कि अगर मैंने अच्छी तरह इसको हैंडल कर लिया तो एक मतलब एक सक्सेस ही होगी। अगेन एज आई सेड, जितने ज़्यादा सब्जेक्ट्स लोगे आप उतना सेफ रहोगे, लेकिन अगर आपको पता है कि आपने एक सर्टेन चीज़ करनी है आगे जाके, तो फिर वेल उस हिसाब से फिर सब्जेक्ट्स रख लो। तो असद, आपका क्या कहना है इस बारे में?
And I would say that while choosing your subjects, you should focus on your strengths. जिस तरह के when I was in prep school, जो होता है around from 7 to 9 class, तो उसके अंदर I mainly focused on sciences. My sciences were always strong. So when I came to O levels, I chose 4 subjects, 4 extra, 5 were compulsory, and those 4 were physics, chemistry, bio, and computer science. These 4 are my strengths because science has always been my favorite. Now, I've heard of people like Hadi Saif and Bilal Hamid who've opted for ad maths, and some of my friends have opted for humanities. But it's everyone's choice. Like, what are you interested in? You have to focus on that. जो लोग कहते हैं, you don't have to listen to them. You have to listen to yourself because आगे आप नहीं पढ़ना है. 2 साल आप नहीं, 3 साल बढ़ के आप नहीं लगाने. You have to focus on what's your strength, what's your थिंक कि आपको क्या चीज पसंद है. मुझे काफी लोगों को पता है जो सिर्फ प्रेशर में आके एड मैथ्स रख लेते हैं, बट देयर मैथ्स इज नॉट स्ट्रांग एंड दैट इज व्हाई दे सफर एंड दे गेट बैड ग्रेड्स, और फिर उनका एडमिशन और वो वाला सारा भी सिस्टम खराब होता है. सो यू ओनली हैव टू फोकस ऑन योर स्ट्रेंथ्स, और अगर आप उन पे फोकस करोगे, फॉर एग्जांपल माय ब्रदर, वो छोटा है अभी, वो उसकी स्ट्रेंथ फिजिक्स है, वो बाकी उसकी बायो और केमिस्ट्री उसको नहीं पसंद. सो आई एम टेलिंग हिम कि तुम फिजिक्स की तरफ जाओ और उसके साथ कोई तुम कॉम्बिनेशन बनाओ. सो आई वुड से कि आप अपनी स्ट्रेंथ्स के ऊपर जाएं, and that will be the best thing for you in the future.
Especially when it comes to your O-level subject, be very realistic. There are some things which you have to do in order for your college application. There are some subjects that look good on your resume. For example, ad math looks good on your resume. But be very careful in what you dabble in. So ad maths या हम world history example ले लेते हैं या stats example लेते हैं. These are subjects, हाँ, they look very good on your application as well. But उसके साथ साथ make sure you also have a genuine interest in them, as Bilal and Pasha has talked about. Or also that you do not stop your life for O levels. This is the most important thing. I think Pasha would relate to this. I also disappeared for a year when it came to the private subjects. So it is very important that you start to live on, because O levels is 2 years of your life. That is all it is. Yes, those 2 years are very critical, but it's more about how you develop your habits than anything else. Because your work ethic will develop during those 2 years. एक बात मैं emphasize कर दूं, every person is very unique. People underestimate this के लोगों के इतने फैक्टर होते हैं अपनी जिंदगी के अंदर कि you can't really predict कि मैंने शामिल अजीज बनना है या मैंने राफी अदर बनना है या something along those lines. You really can't predict that because you don't know what's going on in their life. So choose a path and stick to that path, and I think you'll be fine generally.
I hope we have answered all your questions और आपकी सारी queries भी solve हो चुकी होंगी. And in the future आप please comment भी कर सकते हैं कि हम कौन सी videos लेके हैं आपके लिए. And inshallah resources वगैरह की भी videos and how to deal with exam stress, what about centers and everything, हम हर चीज़ की video आपके लिए लेके आएंगे. And thank you Hadi Saif for joining us and telling us about everything and enlightening us with your guidance. और बिलाल हामिद और मैं तो फिर हमेशा साथ ही हैं. Thank you everyone.